In the village of Winmere, nestled beneath the rolling hills of the north, two boys grew up never knowing each other, though they lived just miles apart. One was named Daniel. He was born to a farmer's hut, walls patched with old wood, a roof that whispered with every breeze. Daniel learned early that life gives nothing for free. He tilled the fields by hand, walked barefoot to market, and shared his bread with the stray dogs that followed him home. The other boy, Leonard, was born behind carved oak doors, his first cries wrapped in silk blankets. His father owned the biggest grain mill in the valley, and his mother dressed in gold-threaded robes. He rode a pony to school and had servants brush dust from his shoes. They grew up under the same sun, but in different worlds. Her name was Isabel. She wasn't rich, nor was she poor. Her father sold herbs and teas in the village square, and she often helped him arrange the leaves by scent and color. Isabel had soft eyes, a thoughtful mind, and a heart full of dreams. She wished to one day open her own herbal shop, a quiet place where people could find comfort and healing. It was on a rainy afternoon that Daniel saw her for the first time. She was offering an old man a cup of ginger tea, holding the mug with both hands as if warming the man's soul along with his palms. Daniel's heart stirred, not with desire, but with a deep, aching admiration. Leonard saw her too at a festival. She laughed as lanterns floated into the sky, her smile more radiant than any flame. To Leonard, she was a treasure waiting to be owned. To Daniel, she was a light to be protected. Leonard was never one to wait. The very next day, he sent Isabel a box wrapped in velvet. Inside, a golden pendant shaped like a rose. A note read, "Beauty deserves beauty." More gifts followed: French perfume, silk gloves, imported chocolates. The villagers whispered, "Leonard always gets what he wants." Daniel, on the other hand, had nothing to offer. Nothing but his mornings. Each dawn, he left a small basket of warm bread and wild herbs on her doorstep, wrapped in cloth he had sewn himself. He never signed his name. He simply hoped that the scent of thyme and rosemary would speak for him. Isabel accepted both gestures, but answered neither. To Leonard, she smiled politely. To Daniel, she looked longingly down the road, wondering who left the morning gifts. And yet, she said nothing. Jealousy is a quiet fire. It starts with warmth and ends in ruin. Leonard began to notice Isabel's glances toward the eastern road, the direction of Daniel's home. He hired a boy to watch the path and paid him with coins and silence. The boy returned after a week and said, "Every morning, the farmer comes with a basket. He never knocks. He just smiles and walks away." That night, Leonard could not sleep. His pride, sharpened by years of praise, burned hotter than any truth. In a rage, he stormed into the village square and waited for dawn. When Daniel came with his humble gift, Leonard stepped from the shadows. "Do you think you can steal her with weeds and crusts?" Leonard growled. Daniel stood silent, holding the basket. "I give her gold," Leonard spat. "What do you give her?" Daniel looked down at his calloused hands and answered, "Time. I give her time. And I give her quiet." The words hung in the air like smoke from a dying fire. Leonard said nothing more, but his eyes burned with contempt as Daniel walked away without looking back. That same evening, Isabel found the basket untouched. The cloth was still warm. She held it close and for the first time, wept. Later that week, she visited Daniel's small cottage. He was planting marigolds by his window. She stood watching him until he looked up, his face surprised and unsure. "I've never asked for anything," she said softly, "but I've waited every morning for the smell of rosemary." Daniel blinked, unsure if it was a dream. Isabel stepped forward and placed something in his hand, a dried flower from her father's shop. "I kept it," she said, "because you gave me silence, and no man ever gave me that." When word reached Leonard that Isabel had been seen walking the fields with Daniel, his pride, once towering like stone, cracked. He called upon Isabel that evening, arriving in a polished carriage. Wearing his finest coat. He held out a ring, a diamond that caught even the last light of sunset. "Marry me," he said, "and you will never want for anything." Isabel looked at the ring, then at Leonard. She saw a man who wanted to own, not to share. She saw the gold, but not the warmth. "I don't want a life without wanting," she replied gently. "I want a life with meaning." She handed him back the ring. Leonard left in silence, the carriage wheels heavy in the dirt. That night, for the first time in his life, he sat alone without applause, without servants, without purpose. Spring returned, as it always does, softening the soil and filling the hills with color. Isabel single quotes as father grew older, and Daniel helped more often, not out of duty, but out of love. They never declared their love in grand gestures. There were no fireworks, no crowds, no music. Just hands that found each other while planting sage. Just shared laughter over spilled honey and crooked loaves of bread. One morning, Isabel woke to find a tiny wooden sign outside her door. Carved into it were the words, "Herbs and Quiet, open today." She stepped outside to find Daniel standing beneath the morning sun, holding 2 cups of tea. He didn't say anything. He just smiled. And Isabel, after a long winding journey, finally smiled back. Years passed like gentle rain over the hills. The shop, Herbs and Quiet, became a little haven where villagers came not only for balm or tea, but for peace. Daniel tended the garden every morning, now with silver in his hair and laughter in his heart. Isabel taught young children how to dry lavender and brew kindness into tea. Sometimes travelers would ask, who was the man who once tried to buy her heart with diamonds? But no one remembered his name. Only the silence remained, rooted, calm, and forever in bloom.